How's that? Hey everyone, it's David, and I know that sometimes it may seem like no matter what you do, you just can't get your highest notes to sound very clear. In rare cases, it may be because the ocarina is defective or even poorly made. However, more times than not, it's actually because the ocarina player is using improper playing techniques. So today we're going to focus on transverse ocarinas and how you can get the top three notes to sound clear and more resonant. And we can start by discussing the standard breathing technique for all ocarinas. Most ocarinas use a specific breathing technique of blowing softly on the low notes, increasing your breath as you progress up the scale. So by the time you reach the highest note, you'll definitely have some strong breath pressure. There are a few exceptions, however, as several ocarina makers craft their instruments to use the same breath pressure throughout the ocarina's range. That means that if you blow softly on the lowest notes, you'll blow just as softly to play the highest notes. As a result, you can expect the volume on the ocarina to sound just as soft, which is ideal for some situations. On the other hand, many performers actually use the ocarinas that require the increased breath pressure because it causes the high pitches to play at a higher volume, which places emphasis on those notes and can build up the intensity during a performance. To show you how this technique works, I'll use my soprano F to let you hear how it sounds when I use the same amount of air on each note. Those were very flat high notes. Now I'll try that again, but this time I'll increase the amount of air as I progress up the scale to stay within pitch. Now, even though I was using a larger amount of air on the top notes, it is possible to blow too hard and create something called Ocarina Squeak, and here's what that sounds like. Yes, not pleasant. It may take some practice to know exactly how much air to use as you approach the highest notes, otherwise you may not always play in pitch. A quick way to check if your highest pitch is in tune is to play the pitch that's one octave below it. On my soprano F, the highest pitch is B flat, so I simply hold this position to get the B flat down below. If they sound the same, then you're using the correct amount of air on the high note. Now, alto C ocarinas are a little bit different because simply increasing your breath pressure will not always give you a clear tone on the top 3 or 4 notes, and here's what they generally sound like. While many ocarina brands experience this problem, there is a special technique that we can use which only works with the alto C ocarina. It's called the Acute Bend. To use the Acute Bend, you simply tilt your head forward as though you're bowing to someone, then you pull the ocarina into your chest so that there's about a 10 centimeter gap between the ocarina and you. Then you simply play the top notes. You hear the difference? And here's what it looks like in practice. Now, something to keep in mind is the smaller the ocarina, the less air it requires to play. The sopranos, for example, should sound great with hardly any effort. The ones that'll give you the most trouble are the lower ranged ocarinas. The larger the chamber, the more air you'll have to supply throughout the entire range. Whatever size it may be, just remember that with practice and a little time, it's not impossible to get great sounding high notes on a well-crafted ocarina. Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.